most desired types of new businesses the district wants to attract to the city?
As the mayor of another city once said, governments cannot create jobs, but they can influence conditions that lead to job creation. I fully agree with that insight. I also believe that governments can and should forge strong partnerships with the private sector in programs that keep the local workforce growing and more prepared to be able to succeed in those newly created jobs. Joining me for a conversation about forging public-private partnerships in the district is Steve Moore, who's the director of the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. And returning for another segment with us is our Deputy Mayor, Victor Hoskins. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for this very, very important discussion today.
Great to be here.
Steve, let me start with you. A lot of people don't know much about the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, so take a few seconds and tell us what it is and why is it important to the city.
So we're the marketing arm for Victor's shop. For economic development. We sort of cover a broad range of opportunities looking to bring business to the city with probably a great strength or sort of a concentration in retail. We're a nonprofit. Everybody who's on the board is a volunteer, all business people. And our work, I think, is to understand the opportunities for business growth, what stores we want to locate here, how you keep those relationships between prospective businesses alive, and do whatever we can to attract business to the district.
Mm-hmm. One of the ways we do that is at least annually going to the ICSC. What's the ICSC, Victor?
Yeah, the International Shopping Center Conference, which takes place once a year in the city of Las Vegas, and it is the ultimate in terms of retail opportunities. All the franchisors, developers that are developing in retail come together, and it is what, 25,000 people or so?
I think maybe 35,000.
Yeah, 35,000.
Yeah.
It's like a small city in a day.
It is indeed.
And you can do a ton of business. As you know, we work jointly with the partnership. We have an incredible booth, which is actually a series of suites and offices where we have meetings. These meetings this year were particularly targeted. We had 90 meetings scheduled. We had over 200 walk-ins. Steve's group did a phenomenal job, and some of those have now turned into leases in near Southeast, over near the yards.
And continuing discussions, right?
Yes, and continuing discussions, definitely. Yes.
Well, it is a wonderful opportunity, but this has to be a year-round, effort. That happens to be a catalyst for it and facilitates, the work that we do 365 days a year. Each of you, what are some of the most desirable businesses and areas of economic development should we be focusing on for the city?
Well, to pick up on what Victor was saying, as a restaurant city right now we're white hot. Mm-hmm. And for expanding retailers of all kinds, our phone is ringing off the hook. It's easy to understand, the DC is easy to understand now for grocery stores, larger retailers, but it's also too this sort of burgeoning opportunity inside neighborhoods for little guys with an idea. Mm-hmm. It almost doesn't matter. The business is changing so rapidly, particularly given the interest right now in opening a business in the district, that we've got to think through almost like micro strategies. And a little bit, you were talking about this in an earlier segment. What is the difference between DuPont Circle and Upper Georgia Avenue? And who do they want to have, and what's right for them in terms of merchandise mix? We're finding that that's the kind of conversations retailers want to have with us. They don't need a conversation with us about household income or why the district is, a great place to be. They want very specific conversations with us about how exactly do I meet the customer that already exists in Washington on that street, in this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It's a level of sophistication we hadn't seen before.
And how do we remove the impediments, Victor, so that people not only see this as a growing and thriving city, but when they want to come here, they don't find obstacles that make them say, I wish I'd never even tried?
Well, one of the things that we've been doing, particularly on the business side, is the Business Service Center at the Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs. That has been one of the things that's initiated under your guidance and direction, which is fantastic. In terms of I'm going to step back for a second and talk about the macro picture. We lose about $1 billion in retail sales a year. I just want to just state that, and that is a big problem. And And you were asking, you know, what is the area that we should concentrate on? That is it. And we are concentrating on that. And by that, I mentioned in the earlier segment about Shops at the Dakotas. But even when we do like a 3rd and 8th Street next week, you're going to do a groundbreaking for a 45,000 square foot giant and over 200 units of housing. I mean, we're doing this in mixed uses all over the city. We're working with the entrepreneurs along 8th Street to organize a conference where we're going to work with Steve's group and our team to bring the retailers and the brokers down to that area and walk them through. So we not only want to just you know, help facilitate it through the business itself getting permits, but we also want to take the entrepreneurs and the brokers to the area to see it and walk it and see how much it's changed. I mean, people don't realize the transformation that's happened on 8th Street just from a driving experience.
Right.
So we're removing impediments as quickly as possible, and part of that is taking them to it.
Exciting time in the city, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right, well, coming up, a recap of the district's game plan for growing the economy and jobs. Inside One City, we'll be back in just a moment. Thank you, guys.
What is the city doing to attract high-paying jobs?